Kate made this. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting slash sewing slash general crafty YouTube channel. Here is a place where I tend to talk about vintage knitting, vintage things, but also some modern. I'm wearing modern. I will apologise straight away that as soon as I decided to record, they've decided to saw down some trees and it's so loud, but I really hope my camera is not picking that up. If they are, I'm sorry, but I have no other time to record, so hopefully it won't be too annoying. I'm also going to be very quick to talk about this and then change because it's 23 degrees in this room and I'm so hot. So let us get on with the modelling and then I will quickly change. So I am wearing my first finished object. This is a Mount Pleasant tee that I turned into a jumper. It's the first time that I've made a drop shoulder and I have decided I prefer my vintage style fit wise, but I have always wanted to make a drop shoulder, so that's nice at least. You will see why it is all of this. I knew going into this that drop shoulders have this, not tenacity, tendency to bulk up because you've got the sleeves just coming straight out like this, and then when you put your arm down it all bulks up. So I knew that was going to happen, but at the same time I'm like, oh, don't really like that. But hey ho, I will stand up and try and show you. But I've been trying for the last like 15 minutes to get a video of me standing in this and I just look so awkward. So I don't think we're going to do any better than what I do now, so this is what... In fact, it can get more awkward because my chair is in the way. So it's not the same as the pattern. The sleeves, do you see what I mean? They're just... But I knew a drop shoulder would do this, so I don't know why I'm surprised. I adjusted the pattern, which would normally just end here with ribbing, and made long sleeves with the pretty detail that I love so much, which is the main feature on the bottom. And the wool is Swedish wool, the Tunt garn. And I am so hot, I'm going to take it off. Okay everyone, I'm back. I am so hot today. It's February and I'm too hot. So let me continue in a more cooled down state. I do really like it, but I haven't had a chance to wear it yet to be able to know how I enjoy wearing it. I just finished it yesterday. So if you have been watching for a while, you'll know my knitting mojo just went and left me. I just had absolutely no lust for crafting and it was very stressful because I enjoy knitting and crafting to calm down, and when I didn't have that, it was a very weird time. But I love this stitch, so that was definitely helpful in getting me motivated. There are a couple of things that are potentially problematic. One is the neckline, because it's quite wide, and it's not super wide, but it's wide enough that t-shirts that come to about here, you can see them. And I have this with quite a few of my jumpers, and I think what I have to do is learn to sew jersey and learn how to get bodices to fit me so that I can make my clothing fit my jumpers. I typically have t-shirts underneath my knitwear so that the knitwear isn't straight against my skin. But the knitwear is constantly sticking up or sticking out too far here, and so loads of my jumpers just look a bit weird when I put them on with these t-shirts, but I don't always want to wear a dress and then a jumper. So this would look much better with a dress, but I suppose time will tell what I wear this with because I haven't worn it yet. I'm hoping I get used to the sleeves and how they sit. I only typically wear vintage set-in sleeves, which fit so nicely to the body, or I wear round yoke jumpers, which everyone I think knows that they kind of sit like this at times and go up a bit, but they have their own annoyances, but I'm used to them. This I have to get used to. I'm hoping the wool will soften with wear and wash. It's only had one wash and it's a rustic wool, it's Swedish wool from Öland, and like it's soft but in a rustic way, and if you get hot it will probably get scratchy. I really love the Ul Centrum wool. I have a lot of my jumpers are in 2-ply. 2-ply? They're in the sport weight version, whereas this is the fingering weight version. So it's 400 meters per 100 grams. And I will find out how this wears like itch-wise and yeah, how it wears basically. And if you have been here a while, you'll know that I have a handy companion when it comes to endless stockinette. That is my vintage knitting machine from the 50s. I used that to knit the stockinette sections of this jumper. So I cast on in the round and knitted this beautiful lace panel. Then I attached it to my knitting machine. I think I've got some footage, so I'll add it here.
This is what it's looking like. I knitted this by hand in the round, and then I added this lifeline. Then I hung all of these stitches up onto the needles, and now I'm just knitting back and forth on the machine. Excuse the background noise, that's my washing machine. I am on the back. I'm having a few troubles because, oops, my yarn is being a bit strange. It seems like it's not spun, so I've had to chop off a good wodge. But now that I've cut that off, I have found some spun. But yeah, these balls have been a bit troublesome. This February sun is hot. It's actually nearly 24 degrees in here and I don't have any heating on. I'm so hot. But here we go. Here's my progress. This is where the arm starts. Armhole, armscye. Okay, so, very unflattering light, but hey ho. I have got to the neckline of the jumper and I've had to take a break because, oh my goodness, my muscle is so sore. As somebody who struggles a lot with gaining any muscle and most definitely struggling with maintaining any muscle, I forgot how much muscle using my machine required. So this jumper may take a bit longer than expected because I have to take a bit more time. I'm going to need to take a lot of magnesium. It's not really that hard to use the machine, but yeah, as I just said, I don't have muscle. So My arms are so sore. I actually genuinely just took out some time from my day to make a protein smoothie to try and get some protein to help not suffer immensely tomorrow. Okay, I will see you when I have made some progress. I'm going to pretend that I'm not freaking out that ball split, and now I'm winding this ball, this small leftover bit that came off, and it's also done this. And I really hope that doesn't mean bugs, moths. Everything's been in this plastic bag, so we'll see what happens to those, but ooh, that makes me nervous. I don't think I've been keeping you very well updated. I have done the ribbing, not the ribbing. I chose not to do ribbing. I chose to do lace, just 2 repeats, and then continue up on the sleeve. But I'm having a slight problem because I was going to go with the recommended circumference that's in the pattern, but I don't think it's going to fit if I make it a drop sleeve, so I've decided to wing it. And I've measured my arm circumference. I'm just going to go with that and see what happens. I haven't made a drop sleeve before, and I'm pretty sure this is not right. I measured around here and it was 18, but that is 18 and that's massive. Obviously it's not 18. I've done some major miscalculations. Are you shocked? No, me neither. At the moment it looks more like 20 inches, which is a bit mad, but it might just be that it's not blocked. So I'm going to have to rip it back out. But even at 16 I'm still concerned, probably because this looks like more like it needs 4 inches removed. This is one of those things that just gets me so irritated, especially with knitting machines. Everything just gets knotted together. I measured it, picked it up, and somehow within that time the tape measure has got wrapped around this scrap yarn and the piece itself and the piece that I have used as a lifeline at the bottom here. All I did literally was walk from there to here, and it got in so much of a mess. My hair has knotted into it that I can't undo it. It's all gone all kinky, and yeah, this is gonna take forever. I kid you not, my hair has even got involved in this now. It got attached to my hair when I was unravelling and it's ripped out my hair. This is driving me mad. I'll add it here. Then I knitted the body up flat, the other half of the body up flat, and I seamed them with crochet hook down the side. Looks a bit messy in the camera, but it didn't look that bad in real life. I think it's because it's been folded. I actually prefer to seam my items using my sewing machine, but it completely left my memory that I do that, so that's why I spent much longer crocheting it. Yeah, it kind of looks a bit messy actually, but no one's gonna see this. It's gonna be, my arm will be there, it's fine. The sleeves I had a bit of trouble with because obviously they were not in the pattern, because the pattern just ends here.
So I had to try and do calculations, and I've never made a dropped shoulder, so I wasn't 100% sure, so I just made it up as usual. I basically took the measurement from my top of the shoulder to my armpit and added a little bit extra, and that's how long or how deep I made that. A lot of the patterns typically call for the sleeves to end somewhere down here, but I really don't like that much fabric sticking out, and it also restricts my arm movement. And I did make one sleeve like that and it looked awful. So I ripped that out and just did it like this, and I feel like although there is excess bulk, as I said, it's expected, and it's enough bulk but not too much bulk, especially because this fabric is not very drapey, so it will, that much bulk was just too much. So that was an adjustment that I did, and I seamed them in again with crochet hook. I hand knitted the neckline. I had to do some different calculations for the neckline because my gauge was different to the pattern. I think I had 7 stitches per 2.5 centimeters, and the pattern is 6, I think. So yeah, a few different number crunchings had to be done to get the neckline. And I had to go up a couple of sizes, and I thought this would come out so big, but actually it came out like the perfect size. So I was aiming for an oversized jumper, but it didn't come out oversized. It's because my swatches always lie. It doesn't matter if I do them by hand or on the machine. I'll do a swatch, say this big, and I counted and it said 7.5 stitches after like blocking it and letting it dry and counting it, and then as soon as I make a whole garment like this, it somehow turns into 7 stitches and the whole thing is smaller. But it's fine. I think that's all I need to say. It weighs 262 grams. Yes, I think that's all I need to say about it. I will probably update you when I've worn it a bit more, because at the moment it's only had about 15 minutes of wear, and that was me trying to take a video of me wearing it and just being awkward. It's because there's no space to stand and actually get my feet and my head in the same shot. I always just look like I'm always on my toes trying to get my, like, the whole body of a jumper into shot, and I just wobble around. But yes, I think that is everything to say about this one. I will update on how it wears and if I like it. But first, finished object of 2025. My next work in progress has a story to it, has many stories to it actually. I'm hoping I don't knock any stitches off. I've got 3 balls of wool attached to it, so it's a bit awkward. I am hitting my needles against the camera. I'm making progress on my vintage twin set. If you did not watch my video on baking 1940s bread, you will not know that new things have occurred. I have decided what to do with my twin set that went wrong. If you watched my last normal episode, I told you I was going to scrap that 1940s all over Colorwork jumper because my stitch count was off, because instead of it being 7.5 stitches, I think it's 7. I'm getting all confused on the numbers. Basically I was off by about half a stitch, and it threw off every calculation I did because of the amount of stitches. So I was aiming for a 34-inch bust or a centimetre bust, and it was 4 inches or 10 centimetres too big. and that was very stressful because I had based my gauge off of a jumper that I already made using the same wool and the same needles, and I thought that was, and it was a Colorwork jumper, and I thought that would give me an accurate representation of my gauge, and it was off by half a stitch, and so I had to put that project to the side, and I did not know what to do with it. I thought I would cut it up the middle, turn it into a cardigan. I thought about turning it into like a 1980s style oversized jumper. I thought about all kinds of things, and you guys gave me some crazy ideas of turning it upside down and making it like the bottom part, the top part, and these are very interesting ideas. So I'm going to come back to that because I'm sure at some point I'll have another problem like this. But instead, I decided I'd just cut out the excess fabric, and so progress is being made. The fabric on the inside, I've currently sewn with a sewing machine down there. I'm going to just pick up the crochet hook and do that again, and then I'm going to cut off that excess fabric because I don't need all that fabric there. So that has brought it in. I just seamed it up here. Sorry, I keep hitting my knitting needles onto the tripod. I have got the front part done. I have got to pick up here and add the ribbing, but it'll just be a little bit there. And let me try and awkwardly model it for you. Super awkwardly model. Yeah, that's not going to work. There we go. That's all you're going to get. So although it looks a complete mess right now, I'm working on the back. So you will not be surprised to hear it is knitted flat. It's a vintage pattern, so of course it's knitted flat. I started the body in the round, which in hindsight was not a great idea, because I could have just cut out. In fact, I would have noticed by the first piece that it was not the right size, and then I could have started again instead of cutting out the pieces. Or I could have, I suppose in the end I would have just done the same thing but flat. But I would have noticed the size was way too big. So once I got to the armpit separation, I then went flat. And funnily enough, I think my gauge is better, it's tidier flat than it is in the round. I don't know how well it will show up because, you know, technology, focus, they're not always on my side, but this part is knitted in the round and then this part is all flat, and I think it looks so much neater. If I have a picture on my phone, I'll put it in, but and a couple of people have said, oh, but once you split for the sleeves, there's not much knitting to do once you get there. But actually, all of this is flat. So I've only knitted Colorwork flat once, and that's a jumper that I will show you in a minute. And it's the same one I took the gauge from. The lying gauge. So I am super happy with how this is turning out. Of course, I'm nervous as always that something isn't going to work or it's not going to fit, but so far I think most of my vintage knits have turned out quite well. I'm now chugging away on the back. I have just started, where are we? This bigger motif, I've just started it. So I've got to finish that motif, then add another one of these small motifs, and then finish the back off in cream and add the shoulders. And then I have to make the sleeves, and they're going to be short sleeves, and then I make the matching cardigan to go with it afterwards. So my plan is, because I'm not 100% following the pattern, which I will go into more detail when I've actually finished the jumper and potentially when I've finished the cardigan, because otherwise I'll have nothing to say when I have finished it other than ta-da! But I can tell you it's the 1940s pattern. I can tell you it's the 1480 here, but the rest of the details I will wait until I have finished it. I was really hoping to get this finished for my birthday, which is next week, kind of. March 6th is my birthday. My mum is coming to visit and I really wanted to get this finished for that, but I had so many hiccups with this jumper. Like the first being that my knitting mojo just wasn't there. Then it came back and I was knitting away, then discovered that I'd made this mistake, so I then put it aside. And then after, I think it was 2 weeks, I then thought I could just cut out this excess. So I'd ordered new yarn, which I talked to you about last time. I had to wait for that to arrive. It finally arrived, and on the day it arrived is the day I had decided what I would do with this. So then I continued on this. Then cursed is the story of this jumper. Another hurdle came my way. The yellow wool, it's behind you. I discovered moth eggs. I was knitting away, and at some point when I just pulled the wool to continue knitting, it fell apart. I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay, I picked up the next part. It fell apart. That is usually a sign that something has been eating it. So I put it on my ball winder and started winding, and again it ripped apart. Took it off the ball winder, and then I started winding it by hand, and then I saw all these tiny little white dots all stuck like lice, kind of like head lice, and it was really gross. I only had about 5 pieces come off, and then it seems to all still be intact. So what I'm hoping is that they're old eggs. I'm hoping they're old eggs because I purchased this wool from a thrift store in Sweden, in Gotland actually, and as soon as I bought it I took it back to the place we were staying at and put it in the freezer. So it stayed there for a couple of days, then it came back to my apartment, went into a plastic bag, that went into the freezer, and that was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. I can't remember. It was about 2 years ago. So it's had a while to have so it has been frozen at least twice, possibly 3 times in that time. So I really hope they were old and dead eggs, and that damage was from being in the thrift store or whoever's house this came from. But because of that, I panicked. So I tried out a new technique of killing eggs, killing moths, and that's the oven. Because last year my mum came to visit and she was winding wool for me and discovered some more bugs that had eaten more of my wool. So I was freezing everything, and if you know me, you know I've got quite a large stash, and it took a long time to get all that wool through my freezer. And you have to leave it for 3 to 7 days in the freezer to kill any eggs. Then it's better to put them in for a second time, and it took so long. So I discovered if you use the oven for about half an hour at 50 degrees Celsius, 50 to 70 degrees Celsius, but I went with 55, I think. Leave it for half an hour in the oven. It will kill the bugs. And that way I took all the colours from this project, put them on the oven tray, cooked them all for 30 minutes, and continued knitting. So it was a lot faster than the freezer. So I'm going to try that in the future for any more. Because last time I did this, I got so many questions saying, why aren't you putting it in the oven? Why are you freezing it? The oven's so much faster. And then this time I posted on Instagram that I'm putting it in the oven, and I got so many questions like, why in the oven? Why not in the freezer? So I can tell you I do both. If it's superwash, if it's got plastic like acrylic, nylon, then it goes in the freezer because the plastic would melt. And if it's 100% wool, it's going to go in the oven from now on. So after that drama, putting everything in the oven, bringing it all back out, I continued on the mission, and this is how far we've got. So can I get this finished in time for my birthday? I don't know, because I'm recording this video now, then I have to edit this video, and that takes up so much time you would not believe. Like, for such small videos that don't require like amazing skills of editing, it takes a very long time. So I'm not sure how much of a day I'm going to have, but hopefully I can finish the colour work today. Then maybe I can do the back of the jumper and the sleeves and the ribbing tomorrow. Then my mum arrives on Saturday, so I would have to, I was thinking I would do the sleeves on the knitting machine and then do the ribbing by hand and do the finishing at the top here by hand. And yes, what I was trying to say earlier and then completely interrupted myself from saying was that the pattern has more like 1940s bigger sleeves, sleeve heads, but then the cardigan, it's harder to fit a cardigan on top of it. Because it's a twin set, I want the cardigan to be more smooth, like to sit nicely. So what I'm going to do is make the sleeves like my Moomin jumper that I made at Christmas, just smooth like this, just normal sleeves. And then my cardigan I might make with more of a 1950s puff sleeve, or maybe squared off, it depends. Because I'm not following the original pattern 100% because I use my own gauge and my measurements to make my clothing. So I'm not following the stitch count, I just wanted the chart. And so that's an adjustment I'm going to do, is change the sleeve heads. So if I can get time when my mum is here to knit the sleeves, it might be done in time for my birthday, but that is being very optimistic. So if I start talking about it now, it'll give me more time to actually sit and knit it. Just seeing a loose thread here. So I think that's all I will say on this one. I'll talk about yarns and everything when I've finished it, which I really would love to say would be next time I talk to you. It'll be after my mum has visited. My voice never ever enjoys recording. So they're the two projects that I have been working on the last 2 months, but I do have projects that I am still trying to tackle, but I have found a new technique, and I'm hoping with this new technique I'm going to be able to get the enthusiasm to work on them, but I'll update you next time we talk. But another update, I'm not sure which video it was, but very recently I was talking to you about this jumper. And I was wearing this in a video in December, and I was telling you how since making this I have improved in getting the fit right on my vintage knits, and that this was the first project I did flat knitting for, and I was really impressed with that. But it's too big, and so it sits like this on me and these fall. And I was telling you it bothers me, but like not enough to undo it. Then I was telling you about the woes that I had had with the sleeves because I was doing magic loop and I was pulling it and I was doing it all wrong. And since making this jumper, I've learned a new technique. And I think this is the worst sleeve. I was telling you that these sleeves are terrible, but not bad enough for me to rip out. But you know what? When I told you that, and I edited the video, I thought, oh, these sleeves look horrendous. They really bother me so much. So not only do the sleeves bother me, but the fit of the shoulders bother me. I am considering I'm going to rip out the sleeves and I'm going to rip out down to here and reknit this with a better fit. A better fit for my shoulders and smaller sleeves because there's just so much. So I bought new yarn to do that. Before I'm going to make the sleeves before I rip these out, just to make sure that it works and that they look good. And then I will take these and I will probably painfully rip them out. And I'm hoping I can use the wool still. When I was just talking to you and getting distracted, it looks kind of felted a little bit, but hopefully it isn't. And I can still use these to make some gloves, some scrappy project with this. I don't think, oh, you know what, I don't know if I carried the yarn up each time or if I will have individual little strands of these colours. That's not going to be fun at all to knit up again. But basically, whenever I wear this, I'm never happy. I feel like it's so droopy. And people ask me, why don't you sell your knits? First of all, it takes so much time to knit that no one would ever pay for the amount of work that I put into this. Second, the wool is Rauma. It's not cheap wool. No one's going to pay that much either. And then who is going to buy a jumper that has these horrendous sleeves? So I couldn't even charge them that much money because I just think the sleeves are so awful. It's because I was doing magic loop and I couldn't do the technique properly and I was making these big large lumps. Since then I've learned a new technique to prevent that, but I've now learned a new technique that I'm going to try out, which will also hopefully prevent that. So that is my mission of the year. I want to work on this simultaneously alongside some other projects so that by the time Christmas comes along, oh, not Christmas necessarily, I made it at Christmas because it's festive colours, but kind of November-y time, I'd like this to be finished so I can wear it. And it's quite a big project to do because you think, oh, I'm doing a jumper. It's actually really hard because I've woven in all the ends very well. So it's going to involve a lot of picking and finding the spot that I wove it into, and yeah, undoing all the buttons, just ripping it apart takes a lot longer than one might think. And I know that because I have done it a couple of times now. So I think that is everything I will talk about today because I want to be able to edit this video quickly so I can work on my jumper. And I will talk to you again after my birthday, I would say, because my mum's coming in a couple of days, so I highly doubt I'm going to be recording and uploading anything before then. What else? Oh, and thank you very much for your warm reception of my last video. I showed you a 1940s booklet, German magazine. Words, a vintage German knitting pattern magazine from the 40s, and it was really fun to show you that, and I'm really happy that you enjoyed going through the pages with me. I've had an idea. I won't share it yet because it's not fully formed, but it will involve the patterns. I'm just waiting on an answer from somebody. Yes, oh, mysterious, sorry about that. But I'm hoping I can do something with that thought soon. Also, I have a couple of answers to the questions that I was putting out there. If you watched that video, you'll know I was very confused about everything. Somebody very kindly pointed out something incredibly obvious that I should know, but I'm so terrible with dates that I didn't know. So let me clarify here. The DDR was officially formed in 1949, which is why, even though the magazine is technically East German, it wasn't actually official DDR in 1948, which is when I've pinned that magazine to. So it had Deutschmark instead of Ostmark because that wasn't a thing for another couple of, well, a few months or to a year. I'm not 100% sure which month that was published, but basically I was very confused how it was an East German magazine but had all this West German stuff connected to it. Somebody pointed out it was not the DDR yet, so that's why. I can't remember what the other thing was that I wanted to say, so I will skip that. But thank you again for watching that video. That was fun to hear all your excitement along with it. I have a few other magazines that I could show you if you would like, so let me know in the comments if you'd be interested. And other than that, I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye!